hit like, and subscribe. You're watching the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel.
Peace, family. It's your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. Welcome to Night School. Every night here on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel, we hold Night School. We break down the most controversial subjects, the most interesting and engaged debates, the most enduring conversations in the world today. And tonight is no different. We got a lot of stuff to cover in a short amount of time, but I wanted to make sure that I shouted y'all out, that I showed y'all love from the very, very beginning. So thank you to the MLH community, the YouTube channel community, the classroom community here at Night School. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And we got so much going on today. And I want to welcome everybody into the global classroom. In fact, why don't you drop in your name, drop in your city, drop in your country, and let us know why you're here. Because again, it's a global classroom. We want to add to that community. We also want the classroom to be lively. This isn't just me yapping. Otherwise, it's just a news show. The whole point of this is the questions. The whole point of this is the answers. The whole point of this is the deep conversation. And that means in the comments, you can talk. So please jump on in these comments and have the conversation that you want to have. The only thing we ask is that you be respectful of the community. We got moderators in here to make sure that that happens. That means that if you're disrespectful, if you operate outside the boundaries of our conversation, that means if you're outside the boundaries of our conversation, I mean, if you're uncivil, if you're dehumanizing, if you're disrespectful, if any of that stuff happens, I'm sorry, family, we got to let you go. But you get a warning first. Second time you get muted. Third time we get you up out of here. That's what the moderators are for. But that rarely, if ever, happens because people here show love. People here break down these stories in conversation and in community. And make sure you leave questions and answers. I'm going to be back again tonight, later tonight for a Q&A session around 11 p.m. Eastern. But I wanted to do a night school session. And yes, D, I feel so much better. Not 100%. You can see I'm a little stuffy, but so much better than I did. So just thank you all for the advice, the healing advice, the medical advice, all of that. I appreciate it. I'm grateful for it. Let's start off with what I think is an important conversation to have. Maybe the most important conversation to have for some folk, and it's a simple one. It is a simple one. If y'all don't know, we talked about it a little bit last night, but I want to talk about it one more time. I want to say Eid Mubarak to everybody in the Muslim world today. This is officially the end of Ramadan, the start of Shawwal. This is one of the two most important holidays on the Muslim calendar. The other, of course, being Eid al-Adha, which is the holiest one. But Shahr Ramadan, or the month of Ramadan, is the month where Muslims fast for the entire month of Ramadan. It's the month where the Quran was revealed in Laylat al-Qadr, or the night of power. It is a month where you see extraordinary discipline displayed by so many people around the world, but also so much community, so much love, etc. As we always say, you don't celebrate Ramadan, you observe Ramadan, but you celebrate Eid. Eid is the festival. And so we say Eid Mubarak to everyone who fasted. We say Eid Mubarak to everyone who participated in Ramadan. And all around the world right now, you are seeing ihtifalat. You are seeing celebrations and festivals and parties honoring or recognizing the month of Ramadan. And one of the things that I love being a Black person in the United States is the way the Black Muslims have steeped these these Eids into the waters of our own cultural practices and history as Black folk in America. So when you go to an Eid in Jerusalem, it's going to be different than an Eid in India versus an Eid in Riyadh versus an Eid in Fez versus an Eid in West Africa. Say for example Nigeria. The festival is the same, the love is the same, the prayers and all the things that are ritualistic, all the things that are part of the orthopraxy of Islam, all the things that are part of what you do, the zakat, the dua, etc., is the same. But when you get to the food and the festivals and the music, you go to Masjid Allah in Philadelphia, or you go to Masjid Taqwa in Brooklyn, you're going to see some different stuff. You're going to see some black stuff. Go to Newark, see what you see. Shout out to my peoples in Newark. You're going to get some collard greens. You might see some fried chicken out in there. You know, there is a different vibe. There is a different energy. It's a different situation. And so shout out to all the Muslims everywhere celebrating, but also hold on to their own cultural constructs and cultural traditions and practices and rituals. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. So shout out to y'all for that. Love you. Appreciate y'all. Also, yes, I appreciate you, D, for saying this. Don't forget to hit that like button, fam. Don't forget to hit that like button. And of course, that subscribe button, because we out here sharing information, breaking knowledge down, doing the things that we do here. And again, you are loved and appreciated for it. Beyond that, let's get to it. There's other conversations that I want to have with y'all. And I think the main one, the first one that I want to talk about is the Donald. That's right. I know some of you think that this is hyperbole. I know some of you think that this is crazy talk. I know that some of you think that this is an exaggeration, but I promise you it is not. Donald J. Trump, the current sitting president of the United States, the 47th president of the United States, just said, and I quote, "There are methods." I want to say that quote again. There are methods to getting a third term as president. That's right. He is openly toying with the idea of breaking the 22nd Amendment, which literally says that no president can serve more than 2 terms, consecutively or not. Doesn't matter. You can't serve more than 2 terms in the United States as president. It's been like that for a very long time. Not always, but it's been like that for a very long time. You can't serve more than 2 terms total. He is in his second term. He was the 45th president, and he's the 47th president. He's done 2 terms, but he's not done there. In an interview, Trump hinted that he's got other ways to stay in power, and his allies, like Steve Bannon, are already pushing for Trump in 28. Now, some people say, well, Trump is hyperbolic. He's talked about not leaving office before, or joked about it. He's talked about being a dictator. He said this, and he never actually follows through. Let's not trip out about Donald Trump. If we've learned anything from Donald Trump, it's that we have to take him seriously. If we've learned anything from Donald Trump, it is that when he says it, he means it. Getting rid of birthright citizenship, he tries it. Stacking the courts, he's done it. Changing the federal approach to DEI, to gender identity, and we're going down the list. He has done it. Now, will he be successful at everything? No, but he tries it. This is not a game. This is not a dress rehearsal. This is not a practice. This is not a flex. Look at January 6th. When Donald Trump don't like how something go, he do something about it. So the question becomes, how do we deal with it? How do we deal with it? Now, in 1951, the 22nd Amendment was added to the Constitution. The reason it was added was because of the person y'all probably thinking of when you think about somebody being elected more than twice. That is FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He was elected 4 times in a row. And so there's nothing ambiguous about the language. But here's the problem. Here's the problem. It's not a legal argument because there's no credible argument for this. There's a populist argument. Donald Trump won by a lot of votes, and a lot of people want him to be president. Donald Trump controls the courts. Donald Trump controls the Congress, at least right now. With all of those things in place, it's getting harder and harder to fight an effort from Donald Trump and his minions to undermine or overturn an election. It's that simple. It's that simple. He could just give it to J.D. Vance and let J.D. Vance keep going. And Kristen Welker from NBC asked him that question, said, if one way to have a third term, proverbial third term, she meant, was to, you know what? Actually, what she was saying was, is it possible that J.D. Vance could run for the top job and then pass the baton to him? And Trump said, well, that's one, but there are others too. She said, can you tell me another? He said, no. But here's the problem. The 22nd Amendment, this is where Donald Trump is wrong. And I'm not sure exactly why Kristen asked it this way, but I think it might have been to get Donald Trump on the record. She's an excellent journalist and a very brilliant woman. I really, really, really like her, both at the debates, as we've seen before, and in other places. But Kristen said, you know, are you going to run for VP as a kind of backdoor? And he said it's possible. But here's the problem. If you're not eligible to be president because you run enough terms, you're not eligible to be vice president, because the vice president is president pro tem of the Senate, and the vice president is the next in line. So you can't be vice president if you can't be president. So that the amendment doesn't just stop you from being president, it stops you from being, it stops all of it. It stops all of it. So the only way this works is if Donald Trump breaks the rules or changes the rules. Now, we know he could break the rules, but I don't think the American government is in such a place where breaking the rules will do it. I think we have to go past breaking the rules. I think we have to actually change the rules. That's all I'm going to say. But keep in mind, they're floating the test balloons. They're making the arguments already. They're doing what they do. Now, the only question is, what will we do about it? If we stay silent, Trump wins. If we don't fight back, I promise you, you're going to see a third term and maybe a fourth. Because he ain't going to change the law to be able to do one more. Unless they try and change it, as Rolando's saying, to make it like a consecutive argument. But it doesn't say that. It says 2 total right now. So this is the game. But please understand, it's happening. And I hear y'all saying it won't. But I promise you, some of the same people saying it won't are the people that said Donald Trump would never be president. Everything is in play at this point. Nothing Donald Trump does or doesn't do shocks me. So let's not take it as a pump fake. Let's take it as a legitimate, incredible threat. All right. Let's talk about the Musk, because you talk about Trump, you might as well talk about his real VP or co-president, Elon Musk. Is Elon Musk buying Wisconsin? That's the big question as a state Supreme Court as a race that's shattering records with over $90 million spent. They're spending $90 million on the state's Supreme Court race. You got billionaires like Elon Musk and George Soros who are throwing cash. They're not doing it because they believe in democracy. They're doing it because they want to swing the court, which will play a big role in deciding abortion rights, voting laws, and maybe even the future of Donald Trump. So this is where it gets super interesting. Ooh. Elon Musk's pick. His name is Brad Schimmel, I believe. Yeah, Brad Schimmel. He's running as a Trump loyalist. He's even wearing a MAGA hat on the trail. His opponent, Susan Crawford, is backed by the liberal mega donors, people like J.D. Pritzker, and is making this race a referendum on Elon Musk, not on Trump, but on Elon Musk and his influence. And with early voting numbers skyrocketing on both sides, liberals, conservatives, whatever, this election isn't even about Wisconsin anymore. It seems to be about who really controls America's courts. This is an important point. I can't say this enough. One, the fact that the money is stacked on both sides should not make you feel comfortable. Some of you all have said that to me before. Well, you know, there's big money on both sides, so it evens out. No, it doesn't. What it does is it prevents the possibility of grassroots efforts. It prevents the possibility of ordinary people running and winning. It prevents the possibility of American electoral systems actually being democratic systems. This is a fight among the rich, about the rich. It's shameful, and it's unhelpful to democracy, or to even advancing a belief or a vision in democracy. So no, 100% no, this is bad. But please understand that when the money escalates, and Elon Musk got more money than all these other people, so his money's longer. At the end of the day, Wisconsin could very easily go in a way that will not just swing the court, but swing the future of America. You often think about the national elections as an American citizen. I know I do. You often think about the presidential race. You often think about all the big stuff, the every 4 years stuff, because that's like the Super Bowl. But we got to think about more than that. We have to think about, we got to think beyond the national elections. We got to think about the statewide elections. We got to think about the regional elections. We got to think about all the stuff that happens, because many of the fights we're seeing over school boards, over curriculum, over trans rights, over public education, or excuse me, public libraries, over all of these sort of what they call cultural issues, and also these socioeconomic issues. A lot of them are rooted in state politics, and a lot of them, the movements are advanced at the state level. Ask Moms for Liberty, just as one example. Look at what happens in the state of Florida and how it ends up impacting the rest of us. This is, again, a reality of our electoral system, and it's a dangerous one. It's a very, very dangerous one. So it's just what we got to think about. All right, let's move on to another story, a story that is disgusting and scary, but unfortunately a reality. Virginia Giuffre, I believe is the pronunciation. Y'all gonna back me up on that? I wish I could get a pronoun on her name. That would make me feel better. But you know what, y'all, give me 10 seconds. I'm gonna see if I can find it. Because all this time, you do, this is a TV thing, but you get a pronoun before you go on air. But for some reason, I thought I had it. And then when I just said it, it don't feel right. But you know what? Giuffre. Yep, it is it. Okay. Anyway, hopefully Princess won't murder me on this edit. I apologize. TK said, I know the one, pronounce it whenever however you want. Nah, we're gonna pronounce it correctly. We always want to pronounce the names correctamente. Let me get to it though. All right. Virginia Giuffre, one of Jeffrey Epstein's most vocal accusers, says she has just 4 days to live after a horrific car crash left her in kidney failure. This is a very, very, very sad story. The woman who took on Prince Andrew and exposed Epstein's trafficking ring is now fighting for her life in an Australian hospital. Giuffre says a school bus hit her head on at 110 kilometers per hour. And now, of course, the conspiracy theories are flying. Was this just a tragic accident, or was there something more sinister at play? She settled her lawsuit against Prince Andrew back in 2022, but she never stopped speaking out against the powerful men connected to Epstein. And now, with just days left, she's pleading to just see her children one more time. Her father's calling for the best medical care to save her, but with Epstein's just awful legacy still haunting the powerful, many are saying, did she just have too many enemies to survive? Let me tell you something. I don't know the answer. I have absolutely no idea what Jeffrey Epstein, or if Jeffrey Epstein and the people connected to Jeffrey Epstein, and I guess it's really people connected to him now that he's gone, whether they had something to do with this accident or not. But I think it's worth acknowledging that it's not outside the realm of possibility. It's far more likely that something is afoul here than there isn't at this point. When you start seeing people dying in prison, you start seeing people who hang themselves at the moment where all the guards disappear when they're not supposed to disappear. When you see all the stuff going on, it gets a little crazy. Kismet said, where there are kids on a bus going 100 miles an hour. It's 100 kilometers an hour, but still, that's way too fast. It's still way too fast. And curious, again, I don't want to throw conspiracies out there because no one benefits from conspiracies. But I will say that we need to keep our eyes on this because the Epstein story is a story that implicates a lot of people, raises a lot of questions, and demands a lot of scrutiny. And we should not let it go. All right, y'all. We got another story here, and we're going to talk later tonight. We're going to do a special Q&A tonight, and we're going to talk Kanye later tonight because I want to make sure I get to my next guest right away for what I know is going to be an important and necessary conversation. I'm so excited to have this guest. So let's get to it. Y'all good? Hit them like buttons if y'all good. Hit the subscribe button if you are good. Hit the like. Hey, look, you can even hit the join button if you're good. Get you a membership while you out there. You know what I mean? We could use it. We could use it. I'm broke as the 10 Commandments right now, y'all. This channel need all the help we could get. Let's talk. So today is Transgender Day of Visibility. Again, it's Transgender Day of Visibility. My community here in night school knows about this. Many do. But some people around the world still don't. And so I want to make sure that you understand that this Trans Day of Visibility is a day that is meant to uplift and celebrate our trans family. But while this should be a day of celebration, of education, of expanding consciousness, under Donald Trump is different. Visibility is under attack. Since returning to office, Donald Trump has erased mentions of trans people from government websites. He's banned them from the military. And he has signed an executive order blocking trans women from competing in women's sports. Supporters say it's protecting fairness. Critics call it an attempt to make trans people invisible. Trans advocates say that this is exactly what today is needed for, to push back against efforts to erase trans existence. Meanwhile, polls show most Americans believe trans rights have, quote, gone too far, putting Democrats in a tough spot between their base and public opinion. So on a day meant to make trans people seen, the question is, will Trump's crackdown push them out of public life or push them to fight back? Joining me to help answer that question is national organizer, diversity and inclusion specialist, and trans activist, and just living legend, Hope Giselle.
Hey,
Hope
everybody.
to see you.
Hey, it's good to see you.
Talk to me first about what today means and what it should mean.
I mean, it's a day to celebrate the trans people that are still here. I think that we also want to remind folks that there are so many of us that have been senselessly killed and murdered. And I say killed and murdered and not died because we have been killed and murdered, right? I think that even when we talk about the amounts of youth suicide by way of bullying and things of that nature, that is still somebody that was murdered because of the actions of other people. And we're not really taking the time and the opportunity to see people as full human beings outside of their transness. You know, you could be having a full conversation with somebody about, you know, the stock market or the state of the world or, you know, a love of diving. And the second that you mention the fact that you're a transgender person, a person wants to immediately know what's in your pants or treat you differently. And I think that today is a day about making sure that folks understand that we're visible, not just because we're trans, and we're important, not just because we're trans, but because we are so vast and we sit at so many different intersections of what it means to be a human being. And so today is just about flexing that, but also reminding people that killing us, you know, in order to make yourself feel more justified in your hatred for us doesn't do any of us any justice. It just reminds people that there's another group of people that you find to be disposable and nobody's disposable. That's a human being, in my personal opinion.
How do we, let's dig down just a little bit on that point, because I think people don't appreciate just how stark and high and devastating some of these numbers are. You know, I've said to people, you know, trans people are being killed every day. And I've literally been told that's not true. That's an exaggeration. Or I've been told that trans people make up such a small amount of the population that it's almost like a statistic that doesn't count. We should be focused on bigger populations. When you hear that kind of stuff, I want you to help us. I want you to help arm us with tools to fight back.
I agree. I think that, it is. There are bigger things. There are bigger fish to fry. Like I think that what folks don't understand and what folks don't realize is that we are in a time right now where Medicaid has been cut. The Department of Education is gone.
Mm.
There are folks that are being forced to become caretakers overnight. Some of those people are young minors who are trying to finish high school that are not going to be able to do that because grandma needs to get back and forth to her dialysis treatments. And we're having conversations about what's in somebody's pants and who can run against who. And I think a majority of us, at least a lot of your audience, I would assume, are Black folk that grew up in a particular area. When I was growing up, the boys ran against the girls, and when the girls run, it was a rite of passage to say, like, I beat all of y'all, right? And now y'all expect us to believe that y'all care so much about women's sports when half of y'all were making fun of the girls who were asking for more money in the WNBA. Y'all expect us to believe that y'all care so much about the idea of bathrooms when I was in high school, and I think that there are still stories about this going on right now. Before I even identified as transgender, because the boys were picking on me, the girls became my safe haven. I changed in the girls' locker room all 4 years of high school because the girls requested that I come in there so that I could avoid bullying. And now it's a problem. And I think that when we have conversations about these things, we are really removing the fact that they are using transgender issues and they're using these very minute things to pass larger bills that are being snuck into the we don't want trans people at the top. But at the bottom of it, it's take away women's rights, take away Black people's rights, take away, Medicaid, take away this, take away that. And they're sliding these things in because they know that if at the top of the bill it reads no trans, no gay, no lesbian, no whatever, no alphabet community, that people are going to say, okay, cool, we cool with that. And whole time y'all just signed away people's rights to have free lunch and don't realize it.
That's such an interesting point. I remember, and I've talked about this a lot when we talk about like white people's investment in whiteness, and anti-Blackness was the kind of animating energy behind a lot of the shrinking of the social safety net in the 80s. So if you wanted to get white people to vote against welfare, even though they needed it, you put Tanisha and Taquanda up in the projects as the face of welfare, and they were cutting it and cutting public housing, cutting public education, all these things because public meant Negro, and didn't nobody want no Negroes. It seems to me that around these cultural issues and these economic issues, trans people are also being kind of used as the face of this thing that the people don't want. Again, as you said, disposability to lead to the cutting of the social safety net for everybody. When it came to Black folk, one of the solutions we had, we had to do some kind of political education. One, to show people, look, white people, whether you hate niggas or not, like we bound up in the same fate, so we got to do something about it.
Right.
But also to slowly do the work of maybe eliminating some of the anti-Blackness. When it comes to trans issues, how do we deal with those two things? One, showing people that, look, you're shooting yourself in the foot, but two, getting the world to not hate trans people.
So you're never going to get the world to not hate trans people, right? For as many people in the world that there are, there's going to be somebody that hates them. I think that a vast majority of us would agree that Beyonce is one of the best entertainers of our lifetime. We think that she's an amazing performer. A lot of us would think that she's, a traditionally beautiful woman. A lot of us would think that, as a Black woman, she's killing shit, right? And there's always going to be somebody in the room that is a Black woman.
Taylor Swift for me.
Right? Like there's gonna be somebody in the room that's gonna say, I don't agree, right? You're never going to get everybody to say like, okay, trans people are cool. Our goal is not to get people to say that trans people are cool. Our goal is to say, I'm not going to treat you differently or ask that your life be treated differently because you are trans. That is the goal. And I think that even as we talk about the ways in which the intersection, like to answer the first part of your question, we're looking at bills right now where there are 244 bills right now that are on the table with trans people at the top of it about education. There are 160 bills right now that are on the table about healthcare, where trans people are at the top of those things. Howsoever, in those 244 bills that deal with education, in those 160 bills that deal and talk specifically about healthcare, what we're also seeing is that wrapped up in those bills are things about civil rights. What we are also seeing are things that are going to also affect cis women. What we are also seeing are things that are going to affect Black and brown people and folks in communities that are disenfranchised already. But what they are doing is selling these bills on the merit that you all, some of you all, are going to be bigoted enough to vote against your best interests in order to spite trans people whom you've never met, who have never personally offended you, who have never personally done anything to you, but by the grace of your God and what the pastor said last Sunday, you're going to vote against an education bill that's going to provide free lunch to your children, right? Because it says that trans people are going to get, a special, seat to see the counselor at school. Or it says that, trans kids are going to be able to have their name affirmed by their teachers. And whole time you're missing the part that says that also in this, there's going to be an extra push, or that we're going to allocate an extra $100,000 for the after school program so that snacks can be moved from crackers and cheese to an actual burger in case kids can't actually access those things at home after school. And you voted against it because the trans kid was going to get a little bit of something at the therapy office. A lot of these healthcare bills that are talking about gender affirming care. Gender affirming care is not just trans people being able to get our hormones and trans people being able to get boobs and or, get boobs or have them removed or whatever the case may be. Gender affirming care is also when your mom has that double mastectomy and they automatically put in her insurance that she can get cosmetic surgery to have them replaced if she would like, so that she can get her ba boom back and doesn't have to miss a beat, right? Gender affirming care is when y'all run over there to Turkey and get these hair plugs and come back and think nobody don't realize that. Gender affirming care is
At me next
when
time.
like gender affirming care is being able to say like, hey, as a man, my jaw is a little flimsy. I'm going to go in and have that thing amped up a little bit because as a man, I don't like the idea that my face is really feminine. There are so many things that are part of gender affirming care that so many people have access to and use on a daily basis, but think that, oh, if we take away gender affirming care from these trans people, there's going to be less trans people. Yeah, that might be true, but there's only going to be less medically trans people. That just means that we're going to be more visible to y'all, I guess. But at the end of the day, that's not going to stop people from wanting to be in community, wanting to have sex with, wanting to maneuver around, wanting to do all the things. But you know what's going to happen is that all of you all that have benefited from that gender affirming care that trans people are fighting for are now going to lose it. Because when you go in as a pre or postmenopausal woman who is having hot flashes that you can't run away from, and now you can't get access to your estrogen because they have revoked estradiol because so many trans people were benefiting from that gender affirming care, you're going to wish that you didn't vote against it. When you go in as a man who is having testicular issues and you can't get it up, and there's an issue with your ED and you can't get approved for your Cialis, or you can't get approved for that penile, whatever the thing is, you're going to gag because that was also gender affirming care that was helping trans men, but it was also helping cis men as well. So I think that when we think about all of this stuff, we have to understand that we are intrinsically linked, and they are trying to also restrict people who are in the margins from being able to access these things. A lot of the things that trans people are accessing have also helped the disenfranchised folks at the bottom who are not trans at all. And if we do away with those things because trans is at the top of it, we're going to miss the benefits that all of us have been serving because trans people fought for something that you didn't think would affect you.
Ooh, I agree with Mike again here, who said hope is taking us to church on a Monday night. We're learning so much from you. Thank you. Before you go, I wanted to ask you to put into some perspective what this Trump presidency means. I think before Trump was elected, there was a sense that things were at least moving in the right direction in terms of trans rights. At least among some people. I don't know I'm not saying they're right or not, but that was the discourse.
Yeah.
As soon as Trump comes in, he starts doing executive orders and nullifying this and canceling this and ordering this. How vulnerable is the movement under Trump? Is it just as bad as it's always been? Is it worse? Is it the same? Is it better? And I'm somehow living in the wrong world. Like, tell me, like, where are we? And if that's too simple a question, you could tell me that too.
I mean, I think that we should all understand and recognize that our journeys are intrinsically linked as Black and brown people, trans people, anybody that's not a white cishet man. And I say cishet very leniently because a lot of these men who can't stand the LGBT community are also a part of the LGBT community, which is a part of the reason why a gay dating apps called Grindr broke down at the RNC, because there were so many users in one area, right? And so when we think about that, we have to
Wow.
understand and recognize that this is not just a system that's worse for trans people, it's a system that's worse for anybody that does not identify as such, right? And also, I want to be very clear, I'm not saying these things because I'm trying to be a sassy, tranny up here and get sound bites. I'm saying these things because they're true. The RNC crashed a gay dating website called Grindr, which is used for gay white men mostly to hook up. And when they were in the RNC, the app crashed because there were so many users in the same vicinity. They could not get that app back up until the end of the weekend. That is not something that I am making up. You can Google it. The app reported it because obviously the people that own Grindr are not Republicans, and they were happy to tell people that these folks are hypocrites. So, I just want to let that be known that this is not something that I'm saying for sound bites, clicks, and giggles to be funny and be sassy. This is the truth, right? But when I think about the way that the world is shaping up as it pertains to trans people, there, as a Black trans woman, right? This world is not just hard for me as a trans person. It's not just harder for me as a trans person. It's harder for me as a Black person. It's harder for me to navigate as a Black woman. It's harder for me to navigate as a Black wife, as a Black daughter. It's harder for me to navigate as an Afro-Latina person. And so I think that we need to understand that these people are not segregating us the way that we're trying to segregate ourselves. You think you safe because you are saying, okay, well, fuck the trannies. You think you safe? You think you safe because you in the comments saying, oh, but you still a man. You think you're safe? Because you calling me a man and you naming the obvious. I've already told you what my genetic makeup was when I said I was a trans woman. Now what? You saying that I'm a trans person when I've already given you that information does nothing for me, right? But what does do something for you is advocating against my rights, which intrinsically affects yours. When you turn down something because you think that it's just going to affect trans people, say goodbye to your SNAP for your grandma. When you turn down something because you think that it's just going to affect the trans people's housing, say goodbye to HUD and Section 8 for your aunt or your mom. When you turn down Social Security rights because you think that that's just going to affect the tranny up the block that you can't stand because she fresh off of her Social Security, say goodbye to the way that your grandma was able to provide for herself without needing all of you all's help to make it by. And a lot of you all are forgetting. And I think that in certain ways, a lot of people are trying to have these conversations against one another or without one another. What we have to understand and recognize is that if we don't do this shit together, they are going to end all of us, and they're just going to use each one of us to get rid of the other one so they don't have to do the hard work and get their hands dirty. Every single time that you deny humanity to a trans person, you are giving them license to later on deny you that same humanity, because they're going to turn around and say, when we did it to the trans folks, you clapped. When we did it to the Black women, you clapped. When we did it to Black men, you clapped. So don't look at us now and act like there's a problem, because when we did it to all of these other groups of people, you clapped. And I need y'all to understand that the more that we as minority people clap for the demise and the dehumanization of other people, all of us are going to look around and realize that those very people that you hated for no reason, those very people that you held disdain for no reason, those very people that you tried to delegitimize for absolutely no reason, were the only hope that you had for surviving a battle with people who know that they are ill-equipped. And so they are using mind games to get you to relinquish power that you have in community with a common enemy.
The doors of the church are open. I hope that this has been so incredibly helpful. I know there are people who are already active in terms of organizing and working in allyship, etc. But for those that don't know, what can we do to support?
I think that right now, the best thing that we can do to support is remind ourselves that we need to connect our leaders. I need all of my cis women, and if you don't like being called a cis woman, I need all of my biologically born women. with the wombs and the real vaginas and nothing edited and no BBL and no wig necessary, no makeup, whatever the fuck you want to call, whatever it is that makes you feel the most affirmed, right? Whatever it makes you feel the most affirmed. Right now, y'all, we need to get our Black kings, our Black men on board. Because as much as I hate to say it, we live in a patriarchal society where people don't move unless men say it's okay to move. And there are too many of our Black male leaders that are still either on the fence or silently caving to this idea of heteronormativity and all of these things that were not built for them to fit into. I need y'all to talk to y'all brothers. I need y'all to talk to y'all uncles. I need y'all to talk to y'all cousins. I need all of y'all who are on the right side of history and want to be on the right side of history to have conversations with these powerful Black male leaders and let them know that we cannot do this without all of the people. We can't do this if all you want to do is lead with an iron fist of heterosexuality, because there are going to be some people that are more equipped to do the job than you, and they are just so happen going to be a trans person. They just might happen to be a gay woman. They just might happen to be somebody that does not have pronouns that you understand. It does not make them less equipped for the job that we need to do as a community. And I need all of you women that are laying down and pillow talking with these men to get them to do everything under the sun, to get them to do the right thing and to understand that as a community of people, we are going to continue to fall backwards and fail backwards if we do not understand the power that we have in each other, regardless of lived experience. This is how they win. They separate you and they make you believe that the people that have the closest experience to you are your enemy. Do not let them trick us out of our spot, y'all. They do it every time and every generation and every iteration of history. And this time, we have enough knowledge to know better. Let's use that this time.
Whew, everybody, this is why Hope Giselle is not only one of my favorite people in the world, but one of my favorite speakers, one of the most compelling voices of, I think, her generation. Honest to God, not just on this topic, but across the board. She's brilliant. She's wonderful. You also need to book her for speeches. You also need to take her on the road and listen to her everywhere y'all have an opportunity, because there's so much wisdom in that spirit and in that mind. Hope, thank you for hanging out with us in Night School. Appreciate you as always.
Absolutely. See y'all later.
Peace. All right, family, that was Night School for tonight. I hope y'all learned something. Hope tore this thing down, left it broke, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm also grateful to you all for watching tonight as we covered all of these topics. I'm also grateful to folk who donated tonight. D'Angelo Trawick dropped something in. I'm grateful. TK joined us. I'm so grateful. Birdie Treadwell dropped something in. D'Angelo dropped something in. Malik dropped something in. I'm so grateful to all of you for your very, 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 very generous donations. I'm also grateful to Isaac Hemsey once again for gifting 5 MLH memberships out there. You have no idea how much that means. I'm so grateful, everybody. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Also, if you're so inclined, hit that join button. And if you can't make the monthly commitment, that's all good. Consider making a one-time donation here. We think about it like a tuition for night school. You know what I'm saying? Consider tuition for the month. We're on the last day of March, so anything you drop in will go for a month for our bills, for our studio, for our staff. Please consider dropping something in the Cash App, the PayPal, the Venmo, or the Zelle. If you give $1, we will be grateful. No amount is too small. If you give $1 million, we will be grateful. No amount is too big. Actually, I'll be honest with you. If you leave $1 million, I'll be extra grateful. But anything in the middle, we also are extremely grateful for. If everybody watching tonight would have dropped $5 in, we will meet our financial goals for the month. So I'm asking you, at the end of this month, as we approach the end of this month, on the last day here, the last day of March, the first day of Shawwal, or the first day of Eid, right after Ramadan, if you could drop something in here, $5 into Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle, it'll help us meet our financial goals for the month. Anyway, family, hit like, hit subscribe, hit join, share the content, like the content, engage the content, but most of all, study the content, because that's what night school is all about. I'll see you here tomorrow. Peace.